All right, now we're going to lay out and cut our stringers, all right, on an actual 2x12. You're going to want to use 2x12 stock like I got here. 2x10 is used at times, but usually you want a nice 2x12, one free of knots, nice straight stock. That's going to be nice and sturdy for your stair stringers. So we'll just go through the process all over again. All right, so and here's my top floor and my bottom floor. Now let's just say it was 22 inches from floor to floor. Okay, so the first thing that we do is always take the distance between one floor to the other floor, divide it by 7, which is our typical riser height. And that 22 divided by 7 equals, we can do that on a calculator here. 22 divided by 7 equals 3.1428, it goes on. So since it's 1, 4 right here, this number can just tell us that we're just going to use, all right, the number that we have. If it was like a 7 or 8, anything above 5, we would round up, but we just keep it the way it is, round down, keep it at 3. So now we do 22 divided by 3 steps. All right, so the first one is always the amount of steps that you're going to have. Okay, so 22 divided by 3 equals 7.333, and it just repeats. All right, and so there's not 0.33, it doesn't say that on a tape measure. So in reality, we just got to find the closest thing. So our riser, all right, is 7, and the closest thing to 3.333 repeating on a tape measure is 3/8. So 7 3/8 is our riser height. So now we have our riser height, and we have how many steps we need. Now it's important to note, so this is one floor, all right, for our actual stringers, all right, all we really need is 2 steps, all right, because the last step, all right, that's drawn badly. All right, let me try that again. All right, on something. Grab another early form of a piece of paper. All right, so there's your floors. All right, so that's 1 step, 2 step, and that last step is actually, all right, your finished floor. So really this is just 1, 2 steps. Hopefully that makes sense. It's only 2 steps, all right, in our stringer that looks like this to get to that 22 inches. That's why when you look at it, you only have 2, you only take whatever your steps total is, you only take, you take 1 off because that last step is your final step. Now it's time to lay this out on our 2x12. All right, so you want to try to get as close as the end as possible when you're laying this out. Now I am just going to use a predetermined, and you always have a predetermined tread, okay, but it has to be between 10 and 11 inches. I'm just going to go 10 inches. Make it easier. I mean, I guess I can make 10 and a half. I'll just do 10. All right, just to make it easy for this example. And I do 3/8 over here. And I like to start as far over on the board as possible to use as much as possible. All right, so I got 3/8, 7 3/8 on this side. So that's our riser height. And I have 10 inches over here, which is our tread. And so you line those two up. Having stair gauges definitely help, but if you don't have stair gauges on you, it's no big deal. You just got to hold it steady. All right. So that's, all right. So right here is actually our floor. All right. So if you can see that, That is our floor. All right. And you just continue that floor like this. All right. And then for your first step, because this is the riser right here. All right. For that first step, you just continue on. So I got 10 and 7 and 3/8. You hold that at the edge of the board. It's very important that you hold it at the very edge. Like I said, stair gauges definitely help in this process, but it's not something that you really have to use as long as you hold it nice and steady. Now, something to note, right here is going to be a tread on top of that first one. So the tread thickness is like this 2x, okay? So if we measure this now, it would actually get us more from the floor. We would be at, 9, almost 9.5. We have to take the tread thickness and subtract that down here. So when we add the tread here, it doesn't bump us over what our riser height needs to be. So we actually subtract the tread thickness off of the first riser. We're just going to say our treads are 2x material, which are 1.5. And the handy thing about a framing square is that this blade, the smaller blade right here, is 1.5 inches. So when I lay this out, I just kind of move this like here. My stand's in the way, but I can flip it around like here. All right, so I don't got to really mark or measure 1.5 inches or anything. I just set my blade right there. All right, and there it is. If you really want to check, all right, then make sure your riser height's all good to go. And it is. All right, so everything's peachy on that spot. One more thing about this first, there's a lot going on this first riser. I also like to kind of shade out what I'm cutting to make sure that's all good. You just take a block right here because you have to cut out your kicker. Your kicker is board is what holds your stringer to the bottom floor. So usually it's just a 2x4, and what you do is that you put it right here at the edge and you just trace it. That's the easiest way. I mean, I guess you could mark it all out with a framing square or a speed square if you'd like, but the simplest way is just to trace it out with a stock 2x4, and there it is right there. All right, so this one only takes 2 steps. All right, so I'm just gonna lay out the second one. All right, so just continuing on, 10 and 7 3/8. There we go right here. All right, so this is what you actually step on is what we count. So you're actually stepping on this, and then you're actually going to be stepping on this. Now, it's only 2 steps for this particular one, and I am just going to, all right, continue this on right here. And that is where the wall is and where it's going to rest. All right, so I'm actually going to cut this line. All right, and that's our actual step. All right, so it's just 2 steps. This here and here. And that's all we need for this particular stair stringer. Now I could just, if this board was longer and I kind of wanted to show you, I could just, what I would do, I would just continue this on, 10, 7, and just continue on that way. But just for this example and this board and how to show you cut it out, this is just for your simple 2-step stair stringer. Next, we're going to cut it out. Okay, now it's time to finally cut our stringer out. So you're going to want to grab yourself a circular saw and make sure it's a good circular saw. Stair stringer kind of angles of how you cut in the wood are difficult cuts to make sometimes, especially for beginners. If you have an underpowered saw, a cheaper battery is probably not going to do the job. Battery saw, a good saw like this Milwaukee, this is a cordless saw, but this is one heck of a tool, definitely a professional tool that could cut these out. Usually a corded circular saw will do the job, but you just want to make sure you have a nice quality saw to cut these out, because if you don't, especially if you're doing a lot of stringers. It's going to wear it out, and it's not going to make quality cuts, because if you're doing like a full-size staircase that had 10 steps, and you have to make 4 stringers, that's a lot of cutting to do. So you're going to want to have a nice quality saw like this to use. All right, so I'm going to start off. All right, this is kind of the opposite side I would start off, but I want to show you guys this way. But I can kind of extend this line. All right, so I can make this cut here, and then I'll cut in. So I'll extend this line this way. Make sure that your depth is set appropriately on your saw. All right, you don't want too deep or else it'll bog down a little bit. All right, so this is the first cut I'm going to make. Effortless with this Milwaukee saw. I can just use my Milwaukee saw even to make this cut right here. I'm just going to overcut a little bit so I really don't have to get a handsaw. This is pretty good material. So that pops right out just like that, and that's how no jigsaw, no handsaw. Just overcut yourself just a little bit and you'll be good. Now these cuts here, all right, I am going to undercut just a little bit, and I'm going to use a handsaw to finish that cut, because this is where you're going to experience some kind of cracking possibly, all right, or these are actual steps are going to crack off. So I'll get a handsaw and finish it. All right, here I go. I'm going to turn the camera this way so we can see this side of where I'm cutting. Try not to get my cord here. All right, getting them out is a little tough sometimes. It is a tough cut to make. And so now I'm going to switch the board around so I can cut it from the other angle. All right, if I clamp it like this, I should be able to get all the cuts made. So I'm going to come from this angle. Just going to move this slightly out of the way so I can get my saw there. So then I grab the handsaw and I finish out my cut, because I don't want to overcut that much. All right, there it is. There's my first step. Next step. And these cuts are no doubt rough on your saw, and especially sometimes when you cut your stringers, the tension within the Y board like this kind of springs on the blade. So you definitely want a quality saw. Last cut here. Definitely want to catch your stringer if it's something like this small. All right, because it might crack, but there it is right there. All right, there's the stringer. And you kind of just lay it on it. Kind of goes like that. All right, now, and then you have your notch for your kicker. All right, and you can, no matter how many steps that you have, it's the same principle.